All right, so today we are diving into the universal guide to popular cultural, internet, online, and political jargon.
And, it's not just about, like just knowing what the words mean.
Right.
It's about understanding like the hidden meanings and the power dynamics behind them.
Yeah, it's like everyone else is speaking some kind of like secret language sometimes,
Yeah.
especially like online.
Exactly. And this glossary is like your decoder ring for that language.
Okay, so it is a glossary. It's a lot of words.
It is.
Where do we even start with this?
Let's imagine for a second that you're scrolling through your newsfeed, right?
Yeah.
And you see a story about a politician who's using the phrase America First.
Okay.
And on the surface, it
It
sounds,
sounds pretty good.
yeah, it sounds unifying, patriotic. But then you keep scrolling and you see another article, and they're criticizing that same speech as like isolationist and divisive.
Right, and they're using the same two words like America first.
Exactly.
Mm.
So that's where understanding the history of like the loaded language,
Mm-hmm.
especially like political jargon, becomes so important.
Okay, so this glossary actually like defines America first.
It does.
And puts it in its historical context.
Yeah.
And it's not just about literally putting America first,
No.
which I think a lot of people could get behind.
Sure.
It's been used to justify some pretty controversial policies over the years.
Exactly. And now you're questioning like, wait a minute, what do they actually mean when they said that?
Right, like were they using it intentionally in that way?
Exactly. And that's what I think is so fascinating about this glossary, is it helps you unlock that critical thinking.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that sometimes these seemingly simple phrases can actually be dog whistles,
Right.
and their meaning really depends on who's saying them and in what context.
Okay.
So you have to think about like, what is their agenda?
That makes me think about all those arguments that I see online where it's like people are just talking past each other
All the time.
because they're using the same words, but they mean totally different things to them.
Exactly. Like if you think about terms like freedom fighter, separatist, which this glossary talks about.
Right.
One person's freedom fighter is another person's terrorist.
Totally. Yeah.
It totally depends on where your sympathies lie,
It's kind of like one man's trash is another man's treasure, but like with language.
Exactly.
With much higher stakes.
It's much higher stakes.
Yeah.
And, this glossary doesn't shy away from those uncomfortable truths at all.
No, it doesn't.
No, it dives right into the heart of these politically charged terms.
Oh, yeah.
From both the left and the right,
Okay.
you'll find deep state, Davos man, SJW, neocon.
Okay, so we're going to unpack all of those
Oh,
more in this deep dive.
Absolutely.
I'm getting a little anxious just thinking about all those terms.
But you know what?
But I also feel like I need to know.
Yes.
I need to know,
Did
does
you?
he actually mean?
Because it's not just about, winning arguments online,
Right.
although I'm sure it will come in handy. It's about this is about decoding the rhetoric that we're bombarded with on a daily basis.
Every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
From the news headlines that we read, to the social media rants we scroll through,
Yes.
to the political speeches, it's everywhere.
Everywhere.
It's about recognizing those attempts to manipulate, to see through the BS.
The BS.
Right, to not get caught in those echo chambers of jargon
Yeah.
that shuts down real conversation.
So it's less about memorizing definitions and more about just being like a more aware consumer of information.
Exactly. It's like every time you encounter a term that you don't fully understand,
Okay.
it's like someone's putting a pair of glasses on your face that distorts reality.
Oh, I like that.
Just a little bit.
Okay.
And the more of those distorted lenses you're looking
Yeah.
through, the blurrier the picture becomes.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And that's what's happening today.
So we're trying to clean our glasses, essentially.
Exactly. We're trying to sharpen that focus
Yes.
so you can see what's real, what's manipulation,
I like it.
what actually matters.
I'm into it.
It's about reclaiming your ability to think critically,
Yeah.
question what you see and hear,
Yes.
and to actually have meaningful conversations.
Okay. Yeah, I like where this is going.
Good.
It's not just about politics, though.
Yeah, absolutely right. It's not just about politics.
No.
It's about all aspects of our lives.
This glossary covers way more than that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what's so great about it. It covers internet culture,
Yes.
social justice movements,
The wellness space.
wellness. Oh my gosh, so many buzzwords in the wellness space.
Right. I feel like I spend a lot of time online. I consider myself pretty internet savvy.
Okay.
But even I come across stuff and I'm like, wait,
I don't know what that means.
it is that.
Yeah, and then you throw in the wellness world on top of it. I mean, that's a whole other language.
It's a lot, yeah.
It is. And what's fascinating is all those categories might seem separate, But online, they all bleed into each other.
That's true.
Think about it, like how a meme about manifesting your dream life
You're right.
can lead into a whole discussion about economic inequality and privilege.
Oh, 100%.
You know?
Yeah.
It's all connected.
Yeah. It's like all these conversations happening like at the same time, all mashed up together.
You're
It's
right.
like, I guess you need to know the language of all of them to be able to really follow it.
And that's what makes this so valuable, this deep dive.
Oh, okay.
Because it's not just about defining the terms in isolation.
Yeah.
It's about like connecting the dots,
Yes.
seeing the patterns,
It is patterns.
and then understanding the bigger picture.
Okay, I'm ready to connect some dots.
Let's do it.
Let's unpack some of these terms.
Okay.
Let's get into it.
Let's go. You know, sometimes it's not even just loaded language. It's like straight up conspiracy theories
Yeah.
that muddy the waters.
This glossary does not shy away from conspiracy theories.
No, it does not.
No.
It actually has like a whole section dedicated to it.
Does it really?
It does. And it's interesting, like it goes beyond just defining them.
Okay.
It actually like connects them to this broader trend
Mhm.
of like distrust that people are feeling right now, like with rapid social and technological change and everything.
Right. When the world feels really chaotic and unpredictable,
Yeah.
it's kind of comforting to believe that there's like a secret order to it all.
Totally. Even if it's like a sinister, shadowy.
Even if it's like a conspiracy. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so it breaks down, you know, common terms like false flag,
No.
crisis actor,
Oh, God.
controlled opposition.
Oh, crisis act. That one really.
It's like so disrespectful to victims of like actual tragedies.
Right. It's like, really? It's deeply concerning, and it just highlights how damaging these terms can be.
Yeah.
Because when you start believing that everybody is a crisis actor,
Right.
it becomes impossible to have empathy
Right.
for real human suffering. It shuts down conversation completely.
Totally.
This reminds me of this one time I was arguing with someone online about a natural disaster.
Oh, no.
And they kept insisting that it was a government-engineered weather weapon.
Oh, my gosh.
Like, of course, you know, looking back on it, I was like, they were using terms straight out of this glossary.
Right. And you get caught in these online echo chambers
Yes.
where all of a sudden that's the default language.
Totally.
And that's why having this glossary is so crucial, because it's like,
Okay.
here's your tool, you know,
Yeah.
you can spot these fallacies now.
Mm-hmm.
And you can be like, you know what, I'm out of this conversation.
I'm going to go.
Because this is clearly designed to just spread like misinformation and fear.
It's like a mental antivirus software
Ooh, I like that.
that you're
Installing.
protecting you from rhetoric.
I love it. And just like antivirus software, it needs regular updates.
Okay.
Because language is constantly evolving, right?
Right. Like, remember L33T speak?
Oh my God.
Now it's like,
Don't even.
please.
Please. And that's another thing. Like this glossary,
Okay.
it doesn't take itself too seriously.
Okay.
It dives into the lighter side of the internet.
Okay. Good.
The memes,
Okay.
the slang,
The slang. Okay.
the online humor, which, let's be real,
It's a lot.
can be just as confusing as political speeches these days.
It can. It can be a lot. What was that one? The milkshake duck?
Oh, yes.
Milkshake duck.
The perfect example.
Explain it.
Okay, so you see somebody online,
Okay.
and you're like, oh my God, they're amazing. I love them. They're hilarious. I'm going to follow them.
Yes.
And then they've said something horrible.
You're
So you're like, oh my God.
milkshake duck.
Milkshake duck.
And then everyone's arguing online about whether they can be redeemed
Exactly.
from their past. Yeah. Oh, it's so good.
And it just highlights how important it is
Mm-hmm.
to like approach these online interactions with some caution.
Don't believe everything you read on the internet.
Groundbreaking, I know.
I know, crazy, but really, though.
But it's true, though.
Yeah.
And having this glossary as a guide
Okay.
for the murky waters of the internet
Yeah.
is so helpful.
It's like having that friend who's like fluent in internet.
Yes.
And can explain all the jokes and be like, okay, watch out. That person's about to get canceled.
Totally. They're like, don't do it. You're going to get canceled. Don't touch that meme.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's not all fun and games, though, this glossary.
Yeah.
It gets into some serious stuff, too.
It does.
Like social justice and activism.
Yeah. And it's important to remember that, you know, while some of the terms might seem trendy,
Right.
the issues are very real
Yes, they are.
and very important. And this guide really like unpacks all that, like intersectionality,
Yes. Intersectionality.
allyship, privilege.
Yes. And these are not just buzzwords. No,
No,
these are very
Important concept.
important concepts.
Yeah.
I will say, like, Even I get tripped up on, like, explaining them sometimes.
That's-
Like, I understand what intersectionality is,
Right.
but, like, explaining it clearly is tough.
Right. And that's something that, maybe we can unpack as we go along here.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
totally.
Because even within these important conversations, jargon can be a barrier to entry.
100%, yeah.
And so having that shared language
Yeah.
is like the first step towards having more productive dialogue.
Right, you can't dismantle the master's house if you don't understand the blueprint.
Exactly. And that's what this glossary does. It gives you the tools and the language
Yeah.
to not just decode the world around you,
Yeah,
but also to shape it.
I like it. It's wild, right? Like, we've gone from, like,
No.
the darkest corners of the internet
Yeah.
with these conspiracy theories to, like,
Right.
L3030 speak.
It's a lot. It runs the gamut.
It does. This glossary, it covers it all.
It really does.
And it's, I don't know, it's kind of amazing how...
And the thing is, like, language is alive.
That's true.
It's constantly evolving.
It's true. This glossary isn't like a time capsule.
No.
It's like a living document of how we talk to each other.
Look, again, it's like is how we understand each other.
Yay, exactly.
And nowhere is that more like apparent than in like
Okay.
terms surrounding social justice and identity and like
Right.
even online activism.
Okay, yeah. And this glossary does not shy away from that stuff
Right.
at all.
In fact, jumps right in.
It does. It does. Like, all those terms that are, like, kind
Right.
of, I don't know, like cancel culture,
Oh, yeah.
virtue signaling, like woke.
Like they've been weaponized almost.
It has?
Like to shut down the conversation
Yeah.
rather than encourage it,
Yeah,
which I think is really unfortunate.
totally. Yeah.
Like take cancel culture, for example. The glossary defines it as like withdrawing support from somebody who's said or done something offensive.
Right.
On the surface, it's like, okay,
Sounds good.
accountability, right.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's like, who gets to decide?
Right. Who decides, and is it
Who decides? Exactly.
not always the right way?
And is it actually silencing important conversations?
Right. Good point.
And so
That's virtue signaling.
virtue signaling. Oh my God.
I'm so guilty of this.
I think we all are.
Like, I just want to make sure everyone knows I'm on the right side of history. You know what I mean?
Right. You want to look good.
Yeah. Even if I'm not doing anything about it, really.
Right. It's that gap between like intention
Totally.
and impact,
Yeah, it's so true. Oh my God, that's so real.
It's like instead of asking yourself like, what can I actually do to make a difference?
Right.
It's like, what can I post that's going to get the most likes?
Yes. Oh my God.
You know, and it's a slippery slope.
It is. It's a slippery slope for sure.
It is. So it's like,
We've got to be careful out there.
we do. And I think that's what this glossary like encourages
Okay.
is to like really look beyond the surface
Yes.
of these terms.
Don't get caught up in the
Get caught up.
heat of the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Take a beat.
take a beat, think about it,
Yeah.
and then we can have like more productive conversations,
Okay.
about these things.
I like it. I like where this is going. Okay.
Good.
So we've talked about like all these different terms. We've talked about the ways that like language can be used to manipulate and stuff.
Yeah.
What about like those terms that describe
Yeah.
like those more insidious forms of
Yeah, like gaslighting,
gaslighting? Yes,
Yeah.
microaggressions,
microaggressions,
emotional labor.
like yeah, the invisible burden of emotional labor.
Right. Just even hearing you say those words,
I
I'm
know.
like, oh,
It makes you feel
yeah, it makes you feel kind of like,
oh no.
I don't know, a little like,
It's like a visceral reaction.
it is. It is.
And that's what I think is so powerful about this glossary.
Okay.
Is it's not just defining words, it's giving language to these experiences
Right.
that have been silenced for so long.
That's a good point because it's like just even having the language to describe it
Yeah.
is like very empowering.
Right.
It's like, okay, this thing is happening. Yeah. It has a name.
Exactly.
Now I can deal with it.
And now you can do something about it.
Right. Exactly.
Because knowledge is power. And now you have the knowledge to recognize those harmful patterns.
Yes.
Not only in the world, but maybe like
In your own life.
in your own relationships. Right.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
And then you can start setting boundaries
Okay.
and advocating for yourself.
Yeah, it's like a vocabulary for self-protection, essentially,
Exactly.
which I think we all need a little bit more of.
I think so, yeah. We all need a little bit more of that.
That's what makes this like deep dive so interesting to me, you know?
Yeah.
It's not just like I'm going to learn some new words today. It's like I'm learning how to like be a better human in the world.
Exactly. It's about like understanding yourself and your place in the world.
100%. Which is
Journey
is a
of continuous learning and unlearning.
Yes. This has been great. I feel like. I've learned so much already just from like talking to you today about all these different terms.
Well, that makes me so happy.
And how like important they are and how relevant they are to just like everything.
Yeah, and remember, this is not the end.
Right.
The conversation doesn't end here.
No, it doesn't.
Language is alive. It's constantly evolving.
That's true.
And we encourage you to continue exploring and questioning and like expanding your own vocabulary.
Yes. Love it. I'm going to keep my ears open.
Yes.
Keep my mind curious.
Yes.
And just remember, the words we use, they matter.
They do.
They really do.
More than ever.
All right. Until next time, happy decoding, everybody.
Happy decoding.